Well, hello. I have somebody to introduce. This is Cabby Cabs, otherwise known as Cabaret. And he is my old boy. This guy is 13 years old and he's made the journey over from Romania. He's a dog that was, when my charity found him, basically left to rot. Somebody was supposed to be looking after him, but that wasn't happening. They were basically shutting him into a stable or whatever they had, a pen, a kennel, I don't know what it was, but it was outside. Other dogs would come and go, and he was left. And as it turned out, we found out, was absolutely beaten, because just lifting up anything stick-shaped near him, poor old boy, he's terrified. So this little old guy came over. We knew what we would be taking on. Hello, I've got another little girl here. This is Tess. So we knew what we would be taking on with Cabby. He's had it rough, and he wasn't just in that place for a little while. He was in there for 7 years. 7 years of his life trapped in a pen, beaten, other dogs that he had to fight against to just have enough food and shelter to stay alive. This one. You wouldn't think lapdogs come in that size, would you? But poor Cabby's wandered off now to the lounge, his little bed in the lounge. I don't know how he made it through, but he did. And the charity that sent me Athena, Angels Watch Rescue, you can find them on Facebook, they're amazing. They said, would I just give him a home to come to? And I won't lie, when he first came, he was in massive defence mode. You can understand, he didn't have a clue what was going on. He didn't have a clue where he was. He just made the biggest journey of his life. And he'd been imprisoned for 7 years and hurt for 7 years without knowing why. So humans weren't his best of friends. And we had issues we had to gradually introduce to the other dogs. We had to have a bit of segregation, but you know what? I'll do it again in a heartbeat. He is the most sweet, loving, funny, cute little boy that you could get. And he's absolutely fallen in love with my partner, Ivan. I mean, when we get married and Ivan moves in, that's just going to make Cabby's world. That is, you should see him. He's like a puppy when Ivan turns up. But yeah, there you go. I just thought I'd introduce Cabby, little Cabaret, and what a show he put on when he came to us. So that's my 3 dogs. And this little lady, this is my Tess, who you met last time. I've had her for 8 years from the Blue Cross. She's an absolute angel. So yeah, that's the dogs. Hey, so back over here with a coffee. Cheers, had my hi-fi bar. How was group this week? Slimming update. Absolutely brilliant. I lost £2, which I was thrilled with. I've had this cold that's been going round, so not been feeling 100%. And you're never quite sure how that goes with slimming and your body and eating. And I had a few things that weren't 100% that I'd wanted to have, but yeah, so happy with that. And, you know, well done to everyone that got to the group, because we got blown to a group last night. The weather, I mean, it's autumn, but yeah, that was a torrential rain. I decided to walk the dogs before I actually went to group last night, and I had to get changed out my leggings when I got home, because I thought, they're so wet, they're going to weigh too much. You know, fellow slimmers, you know what I mean. So, as you know, I've been going to my Slimming World group. I've lost 1 stone and 2 pounds now, 1 stone and 2 pounds now. I have a Christmas goal, wish, aim, plan of action, that I want to lose as close to another 2 stone as I can. Now that works out by Christmas, by end of December, to around about 2.5 pounds a week. So it's completely doable. So happy with that £2 this week. Thrilled to say as well, my sister that joined the other group, the other local group to her, she came away last night with her half stone award. So that's half stone in 3 weeks, I think. 3 weeks, 4 weeks for her. She missed a week because she was very poorly. So she's thrilled, absolutely happy. And she's already thinking about getting how many pounds to her next stone. So that's really good. I've got not far to go until my club 10, and £3 off will take me into some new numbers. Excuse the barking, disclaimer, there will probably be barking in this video. So yes, so very happy with that. Came away with some great ideas, again more ideas for meals on a budget, so just to check out online, search for money saving ideas, so that's something I'm going to be doing. I've found this week, and we talked this week as well in group, about just filling up on those meal times, because I absolutely adore my fruit and I have no problem with snacking on fruit right the way throughout the day. And fruit is free on Slimming World, so free, you don't have to count and measure it and that, so it's a good healthy food to go for a first choice for snacking. But it's just having that big enough stock, so I just wanted to reduce that down a little bit for myself, so I'm not eating up all my fruit within a few days. So I've just increased the size of my meals, added some more vegetables, whatever I've got in the freezer, just plonked that in. And you can see my meals on Instagram and whatnot. The Cozy Caterpillar is my Instagram. So we talked about that. I think the biggest thing I came away with from group this week was something which sounds so simple, but when my consultant said it, I found it very impactful. We were talking about our Slimmer of the Week in group, and he'd done really well. He'd lost £7, I think, that week to lose Slimmer of the Week. He'd had a really phenomenal week. But we were discussing about all the changes that have to be made if you want to. And we know, the old sayings like, nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. I'm sure you've probably heard all these. They just kind of roll off the tongue. But there's something behind that, which when my consultant said about it, is the difference. We know these things, but you have to be committed to change. You have to be committed to that decision that you're going to do things differently from now on. Now, you might already be quite a healthy eater, in which case you'll be, changing bits and pieces as you go, tweaking things here and there. Excuse me if I'm sniffing a little bit, still got this cold. Or you might have an awful lot of things to change. I remember my first Slimming World journey, and I say first because the very first time I ever went, I think I remember saying on here, was over 20 years ago, and I actually went to lose weight because I was getting married to the kid's dad back then. And back then my whole experience was that I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have not with Slimming World, but in general, I had no idea why I put weight on. In fact, I remember getting angry at clothing shops, thinking, why do they keep changing the sizes? Bearing in mind, I was only in like my 20s back then, so I was young. I was like, oh, this is not me. It can't be me. Denial. Isn't that wonderful? So I remember just thinking, I don't understand why I've put this weight on. I went along to my Slimming World group. Back then it was the old red and green days. You might remember those of us that have been around a while. And I learnt very quickly that everything I was doing had to be different. Everything had to be changed. But I was so committed to that goal that was not a problem. So I had to learn to cook from scratch, something I'd never done. My mum had always done the cooking at home before I'd moved out. I'd moved straight out into a house with the kid's dad, and suddenly I was faced with cooking. So I just used to sweep the supermarket. All right, there's a lasagna to put in the freezer that you can just put in the oven. There's jars of bolognese sauce. There's jars of white sauce. There's pesto just to stir over pasta. Pastries to just put in the oven. You name it. If it was easy, simple, I didn't have to do anything, that's what I was doing. Hence why the weight gain. I was snacking on things like bagels and melted cheese. You know, that was a snack. That wasn't a lunch, that was a snack. Packet of biscuits, not a problem. You know, that was just something to have with a cup of tea. How I didn't equate what I was doing with the weight I was gaining was purely down to ignorance, a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, and never having had to think about it before. So that was my first experience with slimming well. But I thought, you know, really last night, you know, hearing our consultant talk and hearing the other members in the group talk, it's just as relevant now. So this journey, this time round, I might well know exactly how to food optimize. I know exactly what to include to have a really fantastic day. I know what my triggers are, blah, 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 blah. But I still have to be committed to do something about that. And there's different sorts of things that can affect our commitment to that change. All very individual things as well. Nothing that can't be overcome with support. And I think that's where the group comes in, like you wouldn't believe. You know, it's like I've said to you, we talked last week about the group being important. So what I thought I'd do is I've been using this, my little Christmas journal. I'm getting on quite well with this. I normally get quite bored with things within like 3 days. So this is actually keeping my interest. I've been filling in all my little bits and pieces and, you know, just flicking back to it and having a little look and that. And what I did complete, and that I said I'd come on and talk about, was my potential danger areas. So, you know, what do I need to do? What would stop me committing to that change? Just so I've got it into my head. So this is my little video, just putting it out there. And yours might be different. Well, yours will be different. You're a different person, of course. But there's also some really familiar things that a lot of people who want to lose weight often come up against. So I mean, the first thing that I've got, I mean, we've got a list of 10, so I just had to fill it up with 10 there, you know. My number one thing says 10 things I plan to do to guarantee a place on Santa's nice list. Well, Santa's nice list means getting my 2 stone, you know, actually losing 2 stone to get my 3 stone if possible. Of course it's possible. Okay, go. So food optimize. The reason I've put this number 1 is because food optimizing needs to be my normal again. Now, if that sounds too simplistic, it is. Well, I'll tell you something. When I stepped away from group, both as a consultant and as a member, more importantly, when I stepped away as a member, I'm kind of like, that support's gone. And although all my knowledge is still there, my desire to lose weight, my desire to food optimize is still there. I almost turn into this, I guess this is a bit of pop psychology, I turn into this like naughty teenager, like, oh, doesn't matter this week, no one's worried. Maybe that's also more to do with my personality. Like, I like doing things for other people. And I think for myself, that's something that infiltrates a lot of my life. So although you should never do anything for someone else that's regards to your body, so you know, you shouldn't be forced into anything you don't want to do, I am a great believer for myself that I don't matter as much as my children. I know my children are 17 and 18 now, but they're so important. I mean, God is my first thing. My children are next. And without God, I wouldn't be here. And so with his help and his strength and the love that I have for them, that spurs me on to want to make important changes. They are the reason I stopped smoking. I started smoking again after I had my divorce. And it was so difficult to stop, but the one thing was, for my children. The same with the way, our being as Slimming World's always been part of our lives. We've always had those healthy foods, these are the great healthy foods to go for. The house wasn't filled up with the things it was filled up with when I was a child, which I'm quite proud of as a parent, and happy about, because now my kids can sort of pick out some great healthy foods, and that's what Slimming World's all about. I get really upset when I hear people talk about, oh, Slimming World's this, that and the other, and they have all their complaints and they pick out stuff, and like, they're missing the point that the whole plan is about helping people to actually just kind of relax without weighing and counting stuff, and go, that's a great choice. That's a great choice to eat that. That's really going to be great to fill you up for fewer calories. So yeah, so I don't know where I was going with this. So this is just the human part of me here now. This is the cold sip of coffee. Hang on. Yeah. So food optimizing being the normal. So when no one's watching me, not watching me, but when no one's, oh, we have a fly, when no one's around to be a part of that journey, or if it's important for, I find it more difficult. So I'm really, really aiming to make sure that this food optimizing is back to normal again. I want to get my house back to normal again. And it's wonderful that, we just don't tend to have those things in anymore that are sort of my high sin options. Because if that's your normal, then you're so much more relaxed. So that's my first priority. Make sure that food optimizing is the normal all the time, so that if, when it comes to things like our works Christmas do that's coming up, etc., that's the abnormal, and I can just deal with that as it comes. As part of that, number 2, I need to prioritize free food, not sins. We can get a little bit hung up. I mean, sins is just a funny play on words, synergy, blah blah blah, fun bits, naughty bits, yummy bits, snacky bits, call them whatever you want to call them, but don't get hung up. And this is what I've been saying to myself, prioritize that free food. I'm trying not to get hung up on what can I have for my sins today, because inevitably there's a few things that I've got that I enjoy. I love a little hi-fi bar, 3 sins. I might have, like this morning, an extra Weetabix on, because there was for some reason there was 3 Weetabix left in the bottom of a packet. I mean, I couldn't leave that there, but it also was just 3 sins to hang up, to fill up the bowl a little bit more. So that's an important thing, and I don't want to be prioritizing, thinking, what's that? I mean, I'm not saying I'm not gonna not think about them and plan them in. That's important. But that free food is where my priority needs to be. If I want to get £2.50 off or thereabouts every single week consistently, it's free food that's going to do it. That's why my focus needs to be. So that's my number 2. Number 3, no takeaways. This is not going to be hard money wise. I want to save some money there, so that's absolutely fine. What is difficult is if my other half comes round and he says, oh, shall we treat, I'll treat you. I'm a sucker for a takeaway because I'm lazy. I'm trying to be less lazy, but I'm lazy as far as food concerns. You'll see that in a lot of my meals. If they can be put together in 20 minutes, I'm on it. If it's something that takes like an hour and a half's worth of chopping ingredients in the kitchen, I'm bored and I don't want to do it anymore. So yeah, absolutely. No takeaways. And I've had a conversation with him, and a really open and honest conversation about how important it is that I need his support in the home at the moment, which he's absolutely on board for. He knows what my goals are, what I want to do. So yeah, he's fine. No more biscuits, no more takeaways, just have them at your house. It's all good. I also need to make sure, if I want to continue on consistently, that I listen to my body. As you know, as I've talked about before, I do have arthritis in my feet. I do have endometriosis, which can cause some unpleasant symptoms, along with fatigue as well. And I also manage, and I say not suffer with, I manage PTSD, or CPTSD it is actually, which takes a little energy out of me, but it's just a case of managing it. And I've learned through those things to listen to my body. So if I need to rest, even if I'm working towards a Body Magic Award, which I'm working towards my gold, I need to ask for my silver in group. I forgot about that this week. So I need to ask for my silver. I've got that. I need to just go and start working on my gold. You can look in your Food Optimising book, that tells you all about how to get your Body Magic Awards. And I love the way they break it down into little increments. So I will make sure that I rest if I need to, and I will make sure I eat if I need to. Now, that doesn't mean that I need to veer anywhere away from food optimizing. I just need to make sure that I'm eating enough to make that I'm functioning well, that I'm not tired, that I'm eating enough to go alongside the training that I'm doing. Obviously I haven't run this past week because I've been so congested. Honestly, I've never known a cold like it. All in my face, head, chest. Yeah, not run in those conditions. Didn't fancy that. So once I finish this week, I just want to make sure that when I get started again, that I'm, giving my body enough nutrition. And I think that's the other great thing about food optimizing. You've got as much free food as you need. So if my appetite, if I'm saying, you know what, I've done a few hard runs this week and I'm extra hungry or been extra busy at work, it's not a problem. I've just got to go to that free food. So again, that comes to prioritizing free food. My thing is to also, number 5, don't overcomplicate things. So I can have a tendency to sort of think I'm not being fancy enough, like with that laziness in the kitchen. Oh, I should do more. But as long as I'm food optimizing, if that's a tin of plum tomatoes tipped over some pasta with a bit of some dried herbs in it, that's still food optimizing, and it's okay. My goal is my weight loss. My goal is to get my speed, my free food, and to make sure I get my healthy extras in so that I'm nice and looked after. Which leads on to number 6, don't be a slave to perfectionism. I beat myself, even though I know where my shortcomings are and I'm okay with them, as in I kind of am aware of them. I can sometimes get a little bit wrapped up in like my perfectionism. So I'll be counting every single sin that I need to, and then say, for example, something happens and I don't know, I accidentally miscalculate the sins on something and I end up going over my 15. I can go into a panic where, I've ruined it now. I've ruined it. I have ruined my day. I've ruined my week. There's no point. Ivan, get me a takeaway, blah, blah, blah. We all know it's excuses. I know. But it's that tendency. So I want to avoid that. So that's what I'm definitely going to be aiming to avoid. Number 7, if I feel myself veering towards emotional eating, I need to get hold of people, not food. That's quite important. I probably should have put that as number 1. So I know that, if it's an emotional type thing, food ain't gonna fix it, love. Never does, makes it worse. So just reach out, text someone, get hold of someone, get some fresh air, take the dog out, So that's on there just as a number 7. Number 8, keep on running. So illness aside, now I'm feeling a bit better than I was. I'm planning to get back out there tomorrow after work. I've got a nice meeting tonight with my church group, so tonight will be a lovely evening of prayer and sharing and glory to God this evening. So that's the plan for tonight. So tomorrow back to work in the morning at the hotel, and hopefully get out for a nice run in the afternoon. So just keep on going where I can. Make sure that I've got protectors in place, such as all of the above, and just to make use of my slow cooker and batch cooking. So for me, that's a big difference. There's a lot of time if my son's out and about and busy. As I say, my daughter's gone to uni now. I don't want to stand and cook every night. Now, previously, when I'd slipped away from food optimising, finding myself here on my own, I'd quite often find myself just thinking, I'm just going to have a big bowl of porridge with golden syrup for dinner because no one's looking. I'm not a group, doesn't matter. Except it did matter because I can't wear anything but stretchy leggings right now. So it definitely mattered. So yeah, I'm going to make sure I batch cook, and that's just as simple as I did some pasta yesterday and I did a big batch of pasta, so I've got about another 3 portions. I had one for my lunch today, I'll have another one tomorrow. So it's just as simple as that. And my slow cooker, again, I can put a whole load of stuff in there, not worry about it, and then freeze the rest. So those are my protectors. So I just wanted to come on and make a note of those so that if I start to wibble and wobble and disappear away from any of my goals for my bauble, I'm going to come back and watch this video and remember what it feels like to be in control, to be enjoying food optimizing being my normal way of life. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. What else was I going to share with you guys? Oh yeah, I'm going to go and colour some baubles in my planner. Who doesn't love a bit of colouring in, hey? I hope you've had a fab week, and I'm really looking forward to already to next week, to going to weigh in next week. Like that feeling, that's what I want to bottle, that feeling of I've got this, I'm going to get there. And a few big things coming up this week, so just that I'm preparing for and planning for. It's my friend's funeral, unfortunately, this week, but I'm going along with another dear friend of mine. We both knew her and miss her terribly, so that will be a shared experience for us. Back to work after being off for a couple of days, and also have a job interview. So yeah, a bit of a busy week, but feeling good. Snotty, but good. All right, love you loads. Bye.